Okay, we are live now. Namaste and good evening, dear brothers and sisters. On behalf of the Indian section, I welcome all of you to today's session. And today we have with us Dr. Partha Sarangi. He is the National Lecturer of the Indian section and Secretary of Balasore Lodge. And he will be conducting this study of the book, The Techniques of the Spiritual Life. This will be the part 1. And this book is authored by Clara Cord. So let us begin this session by chanting the universal invocation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Welcome back, all of you. So it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Partha Sarathi to you. And Dr. Partha Sarathi, as I already mentioned, he is the National Lecturer of the Indian section and the Secretary of Balasore Lodge, Utkal Federation. He holds a master's degree in English and has completed his doctorate in English. And presently, he is professor at the Balasore Engineering College. Dr. Sarangi has a lovely family, his wife Saubhagini, and they are blessed with 2 daughters. All 4 of them are members of the Theosophical Society, which is very nice. Brother Partha, he joined the Katak Lodge influenced by his father and his knowledge about the Theosophical literature. He is fluent in both English and Odia about that knowledge. He has also been instrumental in revival of the Balasore Lodge. So, Dr. Parthasarthi, I welcome you to today's session and request you to begin the study now.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Viva. And also, I thanks everybody, those who are present here, to listen this topic. The subject of the subject is already mentioned from the book, The Techniques of Spiritual Life, written by Clara M. Cord. And this is the first part that we are going to listen, the part 1. And we should start from the chapter 1. So here the author has started the book by saying that we are at the threshold of an entirely new age. This is the age of invention. This is the age of interpretation of the old classical values in a scientific temperament. So now people are making a lot of questions. They're making a cause and effect analysis. They're trying to investigate the deeper laws of nature with a greater scientific outlook. So all the WH questions are asked regarding to the ethical principles. That is the reason for which in this scientific age, it requires that we also should give a scientific explanations to certain type of ethical principles which also we uphold in our life. And that's the reason for which, because of this intellectual hunt, author has said that this is actually the threshold of an entirely new age, where the old values are again looked upon with a greater scientific temperament. So again he has said that look at the life, the entire life force. The life force runs in cycles. Especially spiritual life is not a rocket science technology. It is not a simple upward journey. We go through cycles. The entire age also passed through cycles. Human evolution also passed through cycles. So everything is cyclic. The old comes with a grab of new, and the new again give a new touch to the old principles. So we can again see the age-old traditions, customs, belief in this modern world, but with a different approach, but with a different outlook. So the entire human civilizations also is passing through the cyclic process. We can say here, we can give it the image of a serpent, which is very often also given in our literature. It is given a symbol where the serpent bites its own tail. That means it is a totally cyclic order. It's a totally circle where everything moves and we go through these circles just to become a fully evolutionary process to accomplish our all-round development. We can see the same Roman law and order even in this modern world. And here, Madam Clara has said, if you look to the British law and order, their approach and attitude, there also we can find the reflection of this Roman temperament. To some extent, also we can see the artistic qualities of the Greek in also the French Revolution, in the French civilization. The French civilizations is good in the artistic values. It affords the same aesthetic outlook which once upon a time the Greeks were very famous for that. But at the same time also he has said that even if the life passes through the cycles and these cycles comes to an end in a periodic manner. And also he is here saying that perhaps the time has come where the old cycle is coming to an end. And again, he's saying that look at around these 2000 years. If you look at these 2000 years, that includes the Middle Age and the approach of the new scientific age, you can find the old cycle is gradually changing. The superstitious outlook is no more actually encouraged. People are not ready to blindly believe something. To some extent, the word of faith also has been questioned. As I have said from the beginning, an intellectual hunt has already started. So here also the author is saying that a old cycle is coming to an end. And when this cycle is coming to an end and a new cycle is gradually going to start, it in the beginning creates a lot of contradictions, creates a lot of confusions, creates a lot of conflict, which is quite natural. Today also we can find, if you look towards the entire globe for the last 50 century, for the last 50 years, we can find that the world also passing through a lot of turmoils, lot of problems, lot of conflict, lot of ideologies the nature is also experimenting. This is quite natural. Here the author is saying that this do happen in the beginning. In the beginning, such type of things to happen, and we should not be very much afraid of such type of things. So man is passing from the thought of God. Gradually, we also have the different thought of God. Once upon a time, we have a transcendental approach to God. We are thinking the God is transcendental. Transcendental in sense, it is beyond the realm of normal human experience. So God is thought upon as a purely supernatural entity which the human beings can never experience. It is far beyond the horizon of human experience. Once upon a time, we have this transcendental approach to God. But today, the things also are changing. Today, we have a immanent approach to the God. So we are thinking the God is immanent. That means the God is present everywhere. Even in each and every atom, each and every molecule, in each and every living forms, or in the each and every form of the whole universe, gradually we are thinking perhaps the God is present. To some extent, if I here link the recent development in the quantum physics, we can really understand that gradually also the scientists have started accepting that perhaps a force called God exists everywhere, which is behind the vibrations of molecules, which is behind the movement of the electrons. and which is also behind the expansion of the whole space. So gradually, the Godhood, the concept of the Godhood also is changing. And gradually, we are also thinking that to some extent, if the great incarnations like Lord Krishna or the Christ, if they have accomplished Godhood through a human form, to some extent, in this human body, in this human form, we also can make a grand experiment to express the God-like qualities within us. So God is within us, and we need to express it in our everyday actions of the life. This thought gradually gaining popularity. And we very often also believe that God exists in the heart of every man. Hence, we have a great interest today in the mysticism, in the occulticism, and especially in the yoga. Or if you look to the life of the great saint, or if you look to the life of great scientists, we can find there is a difference in between them. They do have a scientific or a saint-like approach to life. And here I may refer to you, if you look, one of the greatest scientists this 21st century has ever produced, that is called Stephen Hawking. He is no more with us. If you look at his speech, if you look at his writings, to some extent also we can find that there also so many theosophic ideas also are present in his different experiment, or in his different type of writings, or his different type of talks. So therefore, the modern approach to the mysticism and occultism and also to the yoga is gradually quite unique, and these things are gaining popularity. So to some extent, people have realized the esoteric value of every religion is to discover the God which is sleeping within us, and to express this God-like qualities which is also within us. So we are started, to some extent, we have started accepting perhaps the reality is one. The great fathomless one, to whom we call as the Brahman, is ultimate the reality. And this reality that exists in that great zero, which you called as the Brahman, is the ultimate truth. And to some extent, we must try in our every day, or in our every thought, in our every actions, to understand this grand mysticism, that how that Brahman or that great one is manifesting in the universe in a variety of manner, in a multiple manner. The multiple forms, how it's expressing one life, how one life is pervading the entire universe. So scientifically also we can see that if you go through the atoms, and if you go to the subatomic particles, to some extent scientists also have seen that there is no difference. Everything is quite same, but it is the composition of the subatomic particles that also gives different to the different type of atomic structures. It is the composition of the different atoms that give different shape to the molecular structures. And if you see, the one life is pervading everywhere. And that one is very simple. That one also very much a particular one that is the source of all love. It is the pervading love of God, which is manifesting in the whole universe. To some extent, we can say the whole universe is God in expression in different type of forms, in different type of manners. It is the God which is expressing himself in differently, in different type of at different type of atmospheres, or different type of circumstances, in different type of forms. So we all are clad with the dress of thought. We have different type of thoughts in our mind, and as per our thought, we are wearing the same type of mental glasses, and which we must take off if you want to approach to the truth. So therefore, the thought, which is the mostly the activity of the intellectuality or the lower mind, to some extent blocks the white radiance of eternity. So this thought, the mental dress which we are wearing, or this particular glass which also we are having, through which we are trying to see the life, this particular glass has to be broken. This particular thought dress has to be taken off. And then we stand naked front to front with reality. We can see, we can witness, we can experience the grandness of that sublime one, which is already shining within me. And who is blocking? It is the lower mind which is blocking that. It is the fickle thought that is arising within me, the different type of ideologies that is also manifesting within me, the different type of beliefs that is also coming within me. That is the only barrier, and that barrier has to be broken. And when we stand naked, when we stand completely naked and naked our mind from all thoughts, at that time we see the great reality of life. So first of all, we have to understand ourselves, that who are we? Because it is the understanding of the ourselves that can help us to see what is my personality, what is the ego. The term ego, which is also very often referred to in the theosophical literature, to some extent we have to understand where comes this word ego, what constitutes this ego. And when you are talking about this personality, then what this personality is. So we all have different personalities and we all have different egos. And this ego creates an I consciousness. What is this I? What is that I consciousness that always creates a type of ego factor within me? Because the death will destroy the human body. This body, which is made of different type of, you can find that tattvos that we can say, or different type of principles, water principles, air principles, then your empty principles, which we tell in Sanskrit that keep up teja marut vemo, these particular principles in which the body is made, once upon a time the body will destroy and these principles will be disintegrated. But the death can disintegrate my body, it can destroy my body, but it is not going to destroy my consciousness. Or to some extent also, through body, we move objectively in this visible world. To some extent, we can say this body is an instrument. The body is a mechanism through which the ego works, or through which the soul works. But the body is not the reality. This body that unnecessarily creates an I consciousness within me has to be segregated intellectually, and then to some extent we have to realize at a certain stage of our development that I am not the body. My body has a name, it has an address, it has some degrees and diplomas, but the living being or the great Purusa which is living in the body, that is nameless, that is deathless, that is immortal, and death cannot touch it. Nothing cannot destroy it. It remains, it was there before this body, it will be there even after this body disintegrate. So that I, first of all, also I have to understand that this body helped me to move objectively in the visible world, but the body is not the I. So this is a matter of plain fact that man lives in different worlds, in different type of planes, or in different type of, we can say, spheres. To some extent we can say that these are the worlds of different type of consciousness or planes of consciousness. So we are not operating simply in this physical world, we are operating simultaneously in the different world. While I am visible in the physical world, I am also working in the emotional world. Also, I am working in the mental world. To some extent, my higher bodies, if I am spiritually evolved, if I am spiritually developed, they also are working. So, consciousness cannot operate. Another thing, consciousness cannot operate without matter. At every plane, at every type of subplanes, consciousness needs something to express itself or to work with certain type of things. So therefore, matter and consciousness, they both are quite integrated to each other. So every plane we have matters. Unlike the physical plane, we have matters. Similarly, in the astral planes also we have matters. Similarly, in the mental planes also we have matters. Similarly, in the different planes up to the ethnic plane, also we have different type of matters. Though the physical matters in which we recognize it, we understand its constituents, but these are the finer and finer and finer matters that occurs in the higher world, and we don't have any knowledge with them, but they do exist. And when I operate in that plane, that particular matter comes in contact with my consciousness, and my consciousness works with it. So there are many planes or consciousness of matters interpenetrating the physical world. So this physical world is interpenetrated by the astral matter. The astral world is interpenetrated by the mental matters. The mental world interpenetrated by the higher mental matters. So every world is interpenetrating with another world. So therefore, we cannot say that a man is alone only in the physical world, and after death he can go to the another world. This is not the reality. So therefore, all the matters, all these fine matters that my body has or that my consciousness has, they do operate simultaneously, interpenetrating with each other world also. So the together all these planes or all these matters, they constitute the, in the higher world, they constitute the psychic world or the soul world. So we can say that some matters of certain type of planes of consciousness, if grouped together, we can say they constitute a particular world. And the author has said they constitute the psychic world. For example, I can say the matters, the physical matters, the etheric matters, the astral matters, the matters of the mental matters grouped together. To some extent, we can say that they represent the psychic world or the soul world. So very often soul here refers to these three you can find worlds. And these three worlds, I think we all human beings are very much conscious. And here also we are operating. We also to some extent know them. So the future province of the science is to explore and manifest the worlds of the soul, which also the science at present also is doing. So as we have said in the beginning, this is the beginning of a new world. Here the author is saying that the challenge before the science today is to explore that where lies the Godhood and how that Godhood is experiencing or experimenting with a different type of subatomic particles, not only with this physical world, also with a type of different and different world, the highly sophisticated or the highly finer worlds of which we have no knowledge. Here, to some extent, we can say the science already has started investigations. It is a matter of, you can find everybody's knowledge in the scientific community that this world that is three-dimensional for us, but actually is not three-dimensional. It is multi-dimensional. And these multi-dimensions do exist in a shuttle form in different planes. And when we go to that planes, that particular dimension come into our existence, and we know about that. So therefore, gradually the scientific community also are trying their best to investigate and to explore this deeper laws of nature, just to find out that where these worlds are there and how they are also governing us. To some extent, as I have said in the beginning, the quantum physics has already investigated deep into the matter, and they are quite sure, they know that what we call matter is nothing, it is the concentrated form of energy. And they also have accepted, unlike the great scientist Stephen Hawking or the another scientist Heisenberg, they have already accepted that also we have an invisible world, and this invisible world is the reality, and this visible world just an extension of this invisible world. So therefore, to some extent, science also have realized that that there exist the finer particles of the matter. Of course, in theosophy, we members know that, and we understand to some extent it. And when we practice certain type of principles in our life, we do come in contact with these higher worlds, though in a very, I will say, fragments, though also in a very rarely, we also our consciousness do goes to this higher world, and when it goes, at that time we understand that our body vibrates with a different type of harmony. We do understand a new force, a unique creativity is gradually expressing itself even in every particles of the body also. I think all the sincere members of the Theosophical Society to some extent have also this realization. So speaking from this point of view, we can say that some extent we are sevenfold, we have seven bodies, but for our understanding, we can say the author has further divided us that we are threefold beings. For our understanding, these three folds are, as per the author, the body, the soul, and the spirit. Or I can say the physical, the psychic, or the spiritual. So he has said that man is actually threefold. And these three folds are these three things: the physical, the astral, or the mental, and spiritual. So body is what? Again, he has said this body is what? This body is just like a medium. It is a mechanism. It is valuable just for the sake of physically doing certain type of things. It is a fine instrument. And through this instrument, the sense organs are working. And through these sense organs, gradually we are developing different type of mental concept. So our body do have extraordinary powers. When you look to the human bodies, till now we have not investigated the whole part of the human body. We can see the how in a small gene the entire life history of a person is written. Till now, the brain is an enigma. We can't understand that what type of neuron network we do have in the human brain. Some extent also through the yoga, we come in contact with a different power, with a different force in the body. So our body is quite unique. It is quite has mystical. Even today, we do not know the sleeping powers that potentially exist within this human body. So when we take care of the body properly, without listening to the sense organs, when we manage this particular body, we find that body is also cooperating us. It is giving us, it is releasing the soul from this visible world to the invisible or to an invisible world. And what is how this body functions? This body functions through sense organs. We have 5 sense organs. These sense organs are created just for the functioning of the body. And through these sense organs, we cognize the outside world. So cognition takes place through these sense organs. But we should not be slaves to these sense organs. Rather, these sense organs should be under our command. We should utilize them when we need them. Rather, we shouldn't try to listen their provocations. So soul works through the human body and transforms sensory organs into sensory experiences. And these sensory experiences gradually leads me to psychic powers. So I develop or we develop ourselves or we develop our spiritual powers through this physical world. So we cannot neglect this body. We cannot say this physical world is not necessary. It is utmost necessary for us. So through this physical world, we try to see different type of things through the sense organs. And through these sense organs, we develop different type of mental concepts. And these mental concepts gradually develop within us different type of psychic powers. Either we read a book, or we see a drama, or we listen a particular instrument, and these things gradually awakens the sleeping power within us, and we become quite psychic. So the spirit within us is the eternal life. So this is another the three, as I have said, man is threefold. One part is the body, Second part is the soul. The final part or the immortal part is called the spirit. It is the spirit that is referred to differently at different type of literature. We can call it a monad. We can call it a purusa, the undying purusa, or we can call it a spark split from eternity. It is the spirit that lies within us, and it is the eternal life. It has no death, it has no beginning. It is timeless, it is immortal, it operates freely in its own plane. It has no limitations, it is free from all sorts of limitations, it is limitless. Therefore, it is called that it is eternal, it is indestructible. So, immortal being that lies within me, that comes to this earth again and again, that gives power to my lips, that gives power to my senses, that gives power to my desires, that propels within me to hunt everything, that also create all sorts of confusions within me, that also creates a suffering within me. If I can say sum totally, even my limitations, even my contradictions, even my all sorts of fickle approaches draw its strength from this eternal Purusa, from this spirit. So spirit smiles within me, but it smiles and smiles, but it never manifests as long as the body is not prepared for that. As long as I have not transformed my lower to receive the reflections of the higher. So the breath of life is the spirit. It is this breath of life. I do come, I exist, and I lead a life on this earth. So spirit is not a particular, spirit doesn't lie in a particular part of the body. It is throughout. It is in throughout of my consciousness. It is a creative intelligence. That is the reason for which we can find at a certain stage of development, whether a scientist, whether a musician, whether a saint, or whether XYZ person, he becomes creative. It starts looking to this life, looking to this entire world from a creative perspective. We become quite a great love dominates over us. We find everywhere the love of God. We are in harmony. And why it is so? It is because when the spirit starts working with me, I, to some extent, endowed with a creative intelligence. So it is the eternal thinker which gradually propels me, inspires me to think and then also not to think. It is a feeling for which I have been coming to this earth again and again. It is acting me through different type of birth, and it is instrumental even for the sake of shaping my lower bodies to get the reflections of the higher bodies. So we cannot see the spirit, we cannot touch it, we cannot visualize it. Even I may not, in the early part of the evolution, I don't have the knowledge of the spirit also. Till now, many people are there that are ignorant of this spirit, but still it is present. It's voiceless or it is voiced, depends upon the culture of that particular soul. When the soul is cultured, the spirit is gradually voicing its silent rhythm before him. And when the spirit is uncultured, it is totally mute. It's totally never comes in touch with the lower bodies. So initially, we cannot see it, we cannot touch it, we cannot feel it, but still it exists within me. So it is in a state of perfections. So we can say, where is the spirit? The spirit is in a state of perfection. It is in a state of unique equilibrium. Here the author has said, to some extent, that perfection is wisdom, love, and power. And we know in Sanskrit we call that this state is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram, truth, beauty, and goodness. So the spirit exists in a state of perfection. It is already perfect. And it is, to some extent, we can say the Sanskrit word Purna, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. So it is completely Purna. It is 100% perfect. It has no defects. It has no limitations. So therefore, it exists in a state of perfection. It exists in a state of beauty. It exists exists in a state of harmony. It exists in a state of creativity far beyond the human intelligence. So it is a divine plant and is deeply buried in our bodies. So this divine plant is responsible for the entire evolution of this soul. We can say it is a spark split of the eternity. The spirit comes down, when the spirit comes down and come in touch with this matter, evolution starts. And this divine plant has no end of flourishing. It is unlimited. Its growth is quite unlimited. So the growth of the spirit is quite unlimited. We do not know. Its power is quite limitless. It goes beyond and beyond and beyond to the realm of human thought. So this is called a divine plant, and it grows gradually through suffering and joy. And how it grows, here the authors say the spirit's journey through different type of pains, problems, acts, agonies, sufferings, different type of perplexities, conflicts, crises, everyone has to pass through. So this pain is quite natural. It comes because of ignorance. And once upon a time in our respective life, we do face such type of confusions. We do face such type of contradictions. We are always in a crossroad. At particular time, we may not understand which path actually leads me to this divine experience. But not only we, everybody has to pass through. The spirit grows through this, author has said, that suffering, through these agonies. But the ultimate reward is also there. Everybody's, it is the birthright of everybody to come in touch with the spirit. And definitely once upon a time, in our respective track of evolution, we see the smile of spirit, and also we merge with this spirit, which is within me. A day come, it will blossom, a sacred lotus flower. Here he has said, to some extent, he has given this metaphor of this lotus also, which is very much popular in our respective literature. The spirit is like a lotus. It comes out of the mud, but it blossoms, and its whiteness, its purity, its beauty is never going to be tarnished by mud or quagmire. So we all are like lotus. We are coming out of the earth. We are coming out of the problems. We are coming out of some fickleness, or we are coming out of certain type of, we can say, works, wrong works, which you are defining as sin. But yet that lotus within me, in every birth, it blossoms and blossoms and blossoms. It petals, keeps unfolding itself. Its purity is so beautiful. At times we fall in love with it. So therefore, the spirit like a lotus is growing within us. In our heart, we all are God, and our Mula Prakriti is actually divine. So the God sits in our heart. That is the reason for which it is said that a pure heart is more essential than a knowledgeable mind. In our heart sits the essence of the Godhood. So our heart must be pure, it must be clean, it must be so pure that it doesn't have any type of tarnish, any type of problems. It never have any type of bad feelings. And in our essential, or in our Mula Prakriti, which he has said, we all are divine, we all are immortal, we all are deathless. We have no body, we are simply shining souls, but we do not know how beautiful we are. We are like that musk deer. We are thinking where the essence is coming, but we do not know the essence is there within me. So we all are the most beautiful creatures, and one day we shall discover the Mula Prakriti or our beauty. So the spirit is man has its own consciousness, spiritual wisdom. So this consciousness is called a spiritual wisdom. To some extent, we can say that wisdom is prajna. It is not knowledge. Knowledge breeds confusion. Rather, wisdom gives harmony. So when we transform our knowledge into experiences, at that time we becomes knowledgeable, or we come in touch with wisdom. To some extent, what is wisdom? To some extent, we can say wisdom is a super sensuous experience. And it comes when the knowledge which we have got from the spiritual books, we start experimenting with the actions, and the experience we got out of our knowledge, that is the wisdom. And the state of the spirit also is a spiritual wisdom. It is different from knowledge. So no human book or no particular ritual can actually help me to come in touch with the spirit. So when we are in touch with our divinity, we see the illumination within us. And when we can see that I am illuminity, that I am the knowledge, that I am the source of all sorts of beauty, I am the source. When I know that, when I discover myself, when I look deep into my heart, when my mind is completely clear of all sorts of thoughts, when the mind is calm, quiet, it is as quiet, unlike the deep sea. It has no thought, no ripple. My heart is 100% pure. It is in a state of eternity. At that time, I discover the Mula Prakriti or my Mula Prakriti. So it is the truth. So spirit is the truth. And here is say, it is also love, it is also joy. So spirit is like in our respective religion, which is said, Satyam Sivam Sundaram in totality. Our spirit is like this. So the lack of knowledge of spirit, which is deep within us, is our original sin. So in the Bible is referred to certain type of things as original sin. So what is the original sin? The original sin is our ignorance. And when we are detached from our divine principles, that is the sin, where we cannot know, or when we do not want to know that I am not the human being, I am a God. Just in a fragment, I'm expressing myself just as a human being. I am not this body, I am not this emotion, I am not any type of knowledge. Rather, I am immortal, I am deathless, I am a particular entity of that great Godhood. As long as that idea is not within me, that is called actually the sin. So what is the sin? My original sin is my lack of knowledge about my own spirit, about my own development. So in Eastern thought, it is called avidya. Here is referred to avidya. He has given after some hyphens and say it is called avidya. And what is the real translation of avidya? Avidya is non-knowledge, and this non-knowledge is synonymous to ignorance that comes out of lack of wisdom. So, to some extent, we are not fully aware of our spirituality. To some extent, people never develop any type of spiritual outlook. They do not believe that actually they are the gods. And when it happens, it is called avidya, non-knowledge. So gradually we should try our best to eradicate this non-vidya or this avidya, non-knowledge from us, because the lack of knowledge actually brings so many sufferings in our life. We suffer not because of others, we suffer because of our ignorance, because of our ego, because of our when we isolate ourselves from the divine entity, which practically we are. So a seed, here he has given the metaphor of a seed. A seed cannot see a hidden tree. So we can see that within a seed, a gigantic tree is hidden. But a seed doesn't have the ability to discover the tree which is within its in a subtle form. Unlike that, the water doesn't know that it contains electricity. The wood doesn't know that it has the fire. So, unlike that, also, we also do not know that we are the gods. So, in a beginning, the man cannot see the God within him. That happens. That when I am not fully cultured, I have not, again and again, I have not come to this earth in the human form. We have lot of crudities. Our lower bodies, to some extent, prevent us to receive vibrations from the higher bodies. So the higher bodies are not so active in the preliminary stage of evolution. And when the higher bodies cannot penetrate the opaque glasses of these lower bodies, that create a lot of differentiation, that causes a lot of isolation, and that isolation leads to a certain type of egoistic factor where the I consciousness practically develops. We have reached at a certain stage or a point when we should search our own divinity. Here the author is saying that that phase is over. Now, in the average humanity, they have the power, they have the spiritual knowledge. To some extent, they have a reason. The reason has developed within us. So we have already crossed these dark corridors of ignorance. We have crossed it. We have come to a stage where we are ready to receive the illuminations. To some extent, we have developed a reason within us, which you call as Vivek. So definitely, the divinity within average humanity is quite visible. And that also, to some extent, we can understand that in all higher forms of literature or science, or in case of dance, gradually we are coming in touch of this divinity. So the very thought of it is the beginning, and we must have faith on it. Then he's saying that we can discover this when we develop the faith. The faith is very much important. We must have 100% faith. Without faith, we cannot walk in the path of spiritual. In this spirituality, the essential factor is the faith and also to the love. Love means selfless love. Love means it's a compassion. So when my heart is in compassion, when I feel the whole world within me, when I can feel all the pains of others also within me, when I feel for others, when I try for the benefit of the others, to some extent, the delicacies of the love I realize. To some extent, I can understand that the Godhood within me is gradually knocking and gradually revealing itself. So in the beginning, this Godhood must have a faith. So I must have a faith with the absolute presence of God. I don't have an iota of doubt. And this faith gradually will lead me to a realization. Just like an experiment, when we do an experiment, first we write the hypothesis. What is an hypothesis? Hypothesis also is a belief. It is a faith. Because without a hypothesis, how can we have an experiment? Similarly, also, without a faith, we cannot discover the spirit within us. The spirit, if you want to discover its beauty, if you want to soar in the golden rage of this spirit, then we must have the faith. So Madame Blavatsky has said many times that today human beings are capable of treading the path, occult path, but their brain consciousness has not realized it. So here also is authors referring to Madame Blavatsky, and also he has said that many times Madame Blavatsky in his talks and in his writings already have said that the present humanity have the capability to understand the deeper aspects of the life. They have these higher bodies already developed within them. What they need to do, they need to cooperate with that. But what is the limitation? The limitation is the brain consciousness. The present brain consciousness of the humanity is not ready to realize or to get these grand realizations. And we need to realize it also. So, first of all, in the physical level, as I have said from the beginning, we must start with this experiment. Our body must be in touch with this, our subtle powers, and these powers are hidden in my body. So when they awake my powers, that is in a subtle format is present in the body, my brain also gradually develops. And when my brain develops, at that time, I do receive flashes from the above. So I need to develop my brain consciousness. And no need to say the brain consciousness develops out of meditation. When we meditate, at that time, the deeper levels or the deeper layers of the brain gradually becomes activate. And today also is a fact which also the scientists have discovered that the master gland of the brain is the pituitary gland, and it develops out of meditation. So we need to prepare our brain consciousness just to get the reflections, these higher reflections from our subtle bodies. So it is ever increasing true that the number of true seekers are gradually growing. Also, he has said that gradually the number of true seekers of the truth are also gradually increasing. Their numbers are increasing. Today, we can find many peoples, either in different religions or different type of faith or belief. They are also seriously trying, seriously making experiment that how they can understand the Godhood within them. So the true number of true seekers also are increasing. We can say if you look to the life in the surface, we find it is full of problem. We find it is full of crisis. An average man believes that these contradictions, these chaos gradually blocking him. But in reality, they are not that. It is like a sea. When we can see in the surface of the sea, we can see it is full of commotions. Waves are coming. It is boisterous. But once we go to the deeper sea, we can see, understand that gradually the sea is silent. It is unimaginable silence, it's there in the sea. So similarly also in the surface of life, the crisis, confusions, contradictions, different type of oppositions which we see, they are just a fragment, we can say. They are just the fickle expressions of some uncultured mind. But behind the screen, here the author is saying the number of true seekers are gradually increasing. Every man or every person, average we can say, many of them are seriously trying to understand these deeper aspects of the nature. And we can see that in different branches of science also, these experiments already have started. No need to say that either in physics or in case of biotechnology or in case of, we can say, chemistry or in case of medical science or in case of space, we can find that people today, the average humanity is growing up and growing up and growing up and trying to understand that how such type of deeper levels and this, some type of invisible forces are there, and how these forces are actually controlling this whole universe in which also we are working or we are operating. So here the author has said at the end of this second chapter certain things, that what is our body? Our body is only for experience and service. So the function of body is just to get some spiritual experience. And what other thing we can do in our body? Our body is actually given only for the service. Practically we don't have any, practically we don't have any rights. We have practically the duties. And when we serve, at that time you understand these mechanisms of the body. And what is the heart? The heart is there to receive response to beauty and love, and to radiate this beauty and love everywhere is the quality of the heart. So we can say that I have a heart when I am able to receive that undying love, that beautiful, unimaginable sense of beauty within me. So that is called the heart. And what is a mind? The mind is to observe and to understand. The mind is not there to make complaint. The mind is not there to make any doubt. The mind constantly, it should silently observe, and it should always try to understand. It must be humble. It must be ready to look upon these contradictions of the life from a deeper perspective. So this threefold personality is the crystal base which must be cleansed and purified, for within it burns the divine flame. So what need to be cleaned, purified? My body needs to be purified. Purified in the sense, my body must not have any impurity. I must have a diseaseless body. I must have a strong body. I don't have a muscular body, but I must have a strong body. Similarly, I must also have a sensitive heart. If the heart is not purely sensitive, I cannot grow in the spiritual path. Our mind also should be free from all sorts of negative thought. So first of all, I have to clean all these lanes of body, these lanes of heart, or these lanes of mind. I need to clean it so that to some extent the higher can reflect its beauty in these lower bodies. Then what is God or soul? That is within me. The spiritual will, the purpose of life. So what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to manifest the great spiritual will in which again and again I am coming to earth. I am taking birth, either as a man or as a woman. So therefore, the purpose of life is to understand the spiritual will, which is the reason to understand this particular source. That should be the purpose of life. And what is the shining sun within me? The shining sun within me is the eternal love, the God's love. As I have said, the God's love is like a compassion. It is a love for anybody, everybody. It is such a love that anybody who come in contact with it, he receives its beauty. He understands its beauty. As we know that wherever Buddha, Lord Buddha was sitting, wherever, within the 3 kilometer radius, anyone who is coming, maybe an insect, maybe a bird, maybe a human being, is receiving his love. So this love is the shining sun within me. The eternal intelligence is the wisdom. So wisdom or the spiritual knowledge is the eternal intelligence. So I must try to get this eternal intelligence, which is nothing but the wisdom, which we call in our respective literature in Sanskrit, which we refer as pragya. So what we need to do? We need to do antakarana. And what is antakarana? To create a bridge between this higher and the lower. And who can connect the higher and the lower? It is the mind. The mind is the bridge that creates a connection between the lower bodies and the higher bodies. And that is the antakarana that I need to do. I need to purify my mind because it is the mind that actually creates division within me. It is because of this mind I have a blurred idea. So therefore, I have to purify my mind. I have to make my mind completely clean. I must make my mind completely calm. My mind must have that calmness. No thoughts should be there. It must be as calm as a deep sea. So when I have that calmness, I can say that I have this antakarana. The mind and heart should be purified and aspiring, and we should aspire steadily towards our divine counterpart. So when the mind and heart is purified to some extent, we can approach the divinity which is within us. And here ends the second you can find chapter, and with this I'm completing my lecture. Thanks everybody for listening, and if you have some questions you may also put it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarangi. Thank you very much for this most insightful lecture. You have explained the concepts of the book in a very simple manner. I think everybody can relate to it very easily. And also combining it with your own deep insight, it was wonderful. Thank you so much once again. And now I request the participants, if they have any questions or if they would like to discuss something, you may please unmute your mic and speak. I think there are no queries. So this brings our session to a close. We'll be continuing the study of this book in the next, how many sessions? 2 or 3?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
We'll be continuing the study of this book for the next 2-3 sessions.
Next 3 to 4 sessions, I think I will continue.
Okay.
So is it within the time or I cross the time?
No, it is good. It is Good, you are within the time. And as we have no questions, so maybe we can then continue the study in our next session. And we'll close the session with our closing prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Sarvesham Swastirabhavatu Sarvesham Shantirabhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Lokaha Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukhabhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste and thank you all for joining. Thank you, Dr. Sarangi. We'll meet in the next session.
Thank you, Sarangi. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice book. And also you explained very simple and nice way. Thank you very much.